Farmer's Keeper.
Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm the founder of Farmer's Keeper. We're your personal grain merchandiser, not a commodity broker trying to tell you where the grain markets are going to go. You know, one of the two main values we give to farmers, aside from pricing tools that don't require any margin calls because you're committing physical bushels, is basis flexibility to deliver your futures contracts you set through us to any grain elevator you want. Very commonly, we get the question of what is basis flexibility or why is that so important? Let me give you an example of why it's so important to be able to take a no margin futures contract on physical bushels and be able to deliver that to the elevator of your choice later on. When you put yourself in planting, let's say, and things are looking good, the crop's going in well, weather's cooperating, and we're seeing May highs like we typically do, and you really like grain prices, so you'd like to sell. Maybe you want to set some futures and do an HTA or a hedge to arrive. Well, if you're not going to do that in a futures and options account because you're worried about margin calls or you don't understand how any of that works, typically you've got to go to the local grain elevator and open up an HTA. And you can do that. The problem is you've got to now select which one of those elevators do you want to deliver to in harvest or later on in the year if you're going to store it. And you might not know at that time, since you're only setting futures and not basis, who's going to have the best basis when you're ready to do that. Farmer's Keeper manages today through our service tens of millions of bushels of corn, soybeans, and wheat. And what we see is lots of farmers setting their HTAs as the new marketing year starts in the spring and early summer. But those bushels don't get basis set on them until August at the earliest usually. A lot of times September, October, November, even into December. So if you're setting a futures price way back in May or June or even earlier, you're not sure where you're going to go later on with those bushels if you're someone like the vast majority of farmers that delivers to more than one grain elevator. What you're doing if you lock that in directly with an elevator is you're giving up your basis flexibility to go deliver that futures contract wherever you want, depending on where basis is in August, September, October, when you actually go to set basis. Let me give you an example. Let's say you set futures on a portion of your grain back in June, and now it's October and you're ready to set basis. And you deliver to a co-op, an ethanol plant, and a feedlot. Well, if you had locked those bushels in with one of those elevators, and later on in the season, oil goes to $120 a barrel, and there's an enormous demand for ethanol, there's probably a pretty good chance that that ethanol plant is going to have a much higher basis bid than anyone else in the area because they have a huge demand for grain. Well, if you had locked that in with any of the other two elevators in that equation, you wouldn't be able to use that great futures contract you have to capture that basis. If you sell grain through Farmer's Keeper and you deliver to more than one elevator and are worried about margin calls, you would be able to set that HTA independent of any grain elevator way back in June. And then in October, when you're actually ready to set basis, you can actually shop around your local market and take a look and see who has the best basis so that you can get overall the best price for your grain. So keep in mind, if you deliver to more than one grain elevator and you're worried about margin calls, this is a great way by selling your grain through Farmer's Keeper to maintain that basis flexibility to make sure you get the best bid in your area when you're ready to set basis. If you want more information, go to www.farmerskeeper.org or give our team a call at 855-356-7733.
Farmer's Keeper.